The wait is over. You were waiting, right?
Oh, God. No. Please, no.
The end is nigh. Darwin and Cat are back.
Welcome back to Darwin and Cat, one we are appropriately titling Send In the Sleepy Clowns. That is the theme for today's show. Hi, Cat.
Hey, Darwin. So let's just kind of like reset. I'd relocated from Los Angeles to Vermont with my son, my then husband, my very elderly pug, and Dave Kitty. And,
Dave Kitty.
Oh, I love that cat. And we had both been working at EQX in separate day parts, but we were secretly conspiring to do a morning show, except you hated mornings. You hated
Right,
mornings.
and I never told you this.
Yeah,
I didn't really
no
share
idea.
this.
I came to find out that you hated mornings more than Amy Winehouse hated dry January.
That is a really good comparison because it's a fact. But, I also didn't mention it because mornings was the top spot in radio. And it was one of those, if you want to be at the pinnacle and the zenith of your career, you have to do mornings.
That's why I was eyeballing that. And I
thought I could suck it up.
I just assumed that you wanted that too. And I just blazed ahead with my plan and just roped you in.
But I didn't want it at those hours, if that makes sense. Well, and we started off making it worse, right? Because I ended up living with you because I had this crazy landlord. We ended up living together in Vermont, which contributed to getting up even earlier before we moved to Albany. That added to my woes. I was getting up about the time I'd want to go to bed.
Right. I thought it would be great, like summer camp. Like, oh, it's going to be so much fun. We'll go to work together.
And then you saw me in the morning, and it was not beautiful.
Yeah, that was a drag.
At all. So remember that landlord I had? Do you remember that crazy bitch?
I do.
Yeah, my dog at the time.
Buster.
Buster. Poor Buster. God rest his soul. 15 years old,
That's a good one.
He was a good boy. The landlord had this dog and she would break in. So the apartment was illegal, first of all. She had converted her garage into like a living room and a kitchen, sort of, and then put a hole up through the ceiling with a staircase where I gave myself a concussion to what used to be the bedroom above the garage. And she could get in to the apartment from her house. And I came home once and I caught her. Remember when I was freaked out because the Buster was missing?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, where is he? She had him next door in like a groom's outfit and her dog in a wedding dress. And she was mad at me that I interrupted the wedding.
How dare you?
Right?
That is a big day for a dog.
Then I found out she was doing this all the time. So, and she was just nuts.
Did she have a reception? Were we even invited? I feel kind of slighted. She really was having like a dog wedding without your consent. What kind of dog did she have? Did he marry like a golden doodle? Or
it was like a little, maybe a Pomeranian? I don't know. Something. Maybe it was a thing. You met her. You remember, right?
Yes.
Yeah. She was a nut.
She was
and then I think the breaking moment was when, remember, she called the cops because somebody's McDonald's bags had blown all over her lawn and she wanted me to clean it or else she was going to evict me. I'm like,
I think that was the last straw. And I'm like, you know what, guys, just come live with us.
We did. And then the person I was dating at the time, we moved in and it was the worst episode of the Brady Bunch ever.
I was really excited though. I loved you guys. I wanted you to come in. I wanted us to we could work on our show more. We could drive in together. So so that's where we were.
In the evening, that was fun. But the morning, it wasn't awful at all. It was just, I was a total ass in the morning. What can I say? Yeah. And I know we talked about the first morning already. So we got into this habit of getting up around 2 to 3. We couldn't even listen to our own radio station because the signal was so bad.
We listened to, it was a station called Magic, but I think you need to describe what Magic is because I would just say oldies, but it was so much more than that.
Okay, so Magic it was on 100.9. It's still around now. It's on 590 AM. Magic was one of those stations that was almost a time capsule, and it played everything from Dean Martin and Sinatra all the way through some early 70s. And they had those jingles that were like CBS FM in New York City.
They were like the old Radio Gold kind of jingles.
Yeah, and it was like, remember the legal idea? You found it. And it's like,
you found it.
100.9.
It was so cool. And it was just like, it was so well programmed. The guy that programmed it was just a maniac when it came to programming. Like every segue had to be perfect. Fun to listen to. It still is. But there was one song in particular.
There's that one song in your life that makes your skin crawl. And I'm like, there's this song and I have a visceral reaction to it. And it was like our first days like driving in, and all of a sudden, Send in the Clowns comes on.
And you were like, oh my God, this song.
No.
And I thought you liked it.
No, not
And you
Send in
did
the
not.
No.
And you were like, but then we listened to it anyway.
Well, it's kind of, it's kind of like a virus. It just gets into you and you can't look away. You can't get away from it. And I'm not sure if they've found a cure for it yet. But I mean, yeah, it's Judy Collins, it's Send in the Clowns, and it's horrifying. And here we were, the two like rock, hardcore, new Stern replacement DJs, and you're just hating life. And Send in the Clowns is our soundtrack to the way in.
And I feel like we said this is so appropriate for this moment because here we come. Yeah. And then we said something to the program director when we got in. We were like, Send in the Clowns. And he was like, you were listening? I thought you were joking about that.
No, we're like hardcore listeners. And we just kind of like requested if he could kind of like ease off on the clowns, but he's just like, oh, that's one of our biggest. No, that's okay.
Or at least play the Sinatra version. I mean, come on. His isn't as suicidal feeling as, the Judy Collins one. And we also had the morning show. So our desks were seated not with Magic, but with B95, the minivan mom music station.
First, let's kind of describe what mom station and mom rock is. So B95, it was like light, breezy talk and music by like Richard Marx and Earth, Wind and Fire. And if you're feeling a little sassy, Pat Benatar. Yeah,
and the program director that took over later on when we were there, his philosophy was if you can play it at a wedding, it gets played on B95.
Right.
Remember that? That was this whole like, and they became like Disco 95 almost. But,
and it works. People love
it was the number one station in the market. It was, yeah. And they had those little embarrassing, those yellow like road sign stickers that said safe listening zone that they gave out for minivans.
Oh, God, cringe. I forgot about the safe listening zone.
And they had a giant B because they were B95, not like
I
just
get
the
it.
letter B.
In I think it was like a bee suit, and an intern threw up like in the bee mask, and the entire bee was just like caked with vomit.
Yeah, and then they blamed us. They blamed the Edge.
Of course, they think the rock station's going to puke inside the bee.
Yeah, no, it wasn't us. We did have a song in common with B95. Do you remember?
No.
We were shocked when we thought we were listening to the Edge, and it was B95. Hoobastink, The Reason.
Oh, of course, that was a big crossover.
Yeah.
Right.
And we thought
they weren't exactly playing System of a Down.
No, Chop Suey was not on their playlist. It was fun.
Did they play any Kenny G?
They didn't have many boundaries, many rules, but they had some standards.
Well, sometimes you do have to draw a line.
Yeah. Kenny G was the line. I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they did not.
Okay.
But if you're rocking out in your minivan,
I mean, Kenny G might come on with this weird flute. I don't think
that's some sort of saxophone, right?
Whatever.
It looks like a gold clarinet. Oh. And their morning show, we love their morning show, Chuck and Kelly. Now, there were two Chuck and Kellys. They were the original Chuck and Kelly.
But they cloned them? Wait, what?
Well, no. So after you moved away, WGY, when Don Weeks retired, there was a morning show that replaced him called Chuck and Kelly, but it was not the same Chuck and Kelly that we knew.
Oh, my God. My brain hurts.
Yeah, it was really weird. But the original, the OG Chuck and Kelly, they were just like an old married couple.
Chuck! They used to argue a lot.
All the time. And one morning, it was the Send in the Clowns morning, I think. We were so tired. And we got to our desks as if he heard us in the car, looks over at us. And we weren't even talking about it. We were not even talking about it. And we're like, used to what? These hours. They'll age you prematurely. And we were like,
you'll never get used to it, kid. He was kind of describing it like, when there's somebody and the president enters office, and then by the time the president leaves, it looks like this person's aged 300 years. That's pretty much what radio does.
And we were looking at him. There was another morning. I think it was July, perhaps, or something. And Kelly was back in the studio at the other end of the cubicle farm we lived in. Chuck was at his desk, and he would always hunch over, like how would you describe Larry's hunched over
Radio does
typing?
not promote good posture.
No. He was all like squished up on his keyboard, and all of a sudden we hear Kelly yelling from the studio, Chuck, Chuck, and all of a sudden he goes, Chuck, Chuck. He was imitating her because some Christmas promo ran, and she's like, what?
Chuck, Chuck. Mom and Dad are fighting again.
If you ever had a headache or anything, people would come to us wondering if they had pills or something, and we never had them.
No,
but
we didn't have any
B95
drugs.
did.
Yep.
B95 did.
They'll hook you up.
Now, let's be real. He made me look like Little Orphan Annie singing that song about the sun coming up.
Chuck
Right?
had kind of a grisly disposition.
In the
You
morning. We loved
look
him.
like a little orphan with your big shoes singing Hard Knock Life comparatively. You are totally right.
I mean, I hate that song. That's my skin crawl song. But yeah, that's a good comparison right there.
Dude, just an aside, I saw Annie when I was 10 years old, and it was like a big deal in my life. A few years ago, I saw some touring company of Annie, and they showed a picture of Annie. And you know how she's supposed to have that big, red, curly fro?
Yeah.
Bitch straightened her hair.
What?
She bought a flat iron and she straightened her hair. And I'm like, no, Annie,
Oh.
you're supposed to have hair that's even frizzier than mine. No, it was devastating. If
Kind
I
of took the
couldn't
clown
straighten,
vibes out of it.
if I couldn't straighten my hair and I had to wear the clown fro, Annie has to do it too. And I will stand by that.
I had to go watch Annie a few years ago because the high school I worked for, that was the musical they were putting on.
Oh my God. Did you
No,
play
no.
Daddy Warbucks or did you have a part?
No. I was in the audience because kids, they ask you to go. And as a teacher, if
have
the
to.
kid asks you to go, yeah, you really should. But they looked at me and they're like, why do you look so sad about it? And I'm like, I don't like Annie at all.
You really are, Crouch. How can you not like Annie? That little orphan didn't worm her way into your heart.
The only time I liked Annie was the scene in Serial Mom when Serial Mom won't rewind.
You found it. One of the 7 signs of the apocalypse. Darwin and Cat are back. Darwin and Cat.
In modern radio, it's really, really rare to work at a station like we met at EQX, a singleton, a one station. Most stations, there's multiple stations all in one building.
Yep.
Albany Broadcasting, that was the case.
It's called a cluster, and there are
Yep.
generally 5 or more stations in a cluster, and I think we had 5.
6, right? It was Edge, Fly 92, Magic, Jams, B95, and 590 that had the newsroom of that. So we were one of 6. It felt like 5.
Yeah.
You're right. There were 6.
Numbers are hard.
But it was close. I had to think through. I was like, is it? So a lot of those are still there today. I mean, 104.9 has been through its classic country now, like 90s country.
Oh, those formats are flipping all the time. But yeah, so it's a cluster. And we had, as we mentioned, we had the Mom Music Station. We had Top 40, which is also called CHR, Contemporary Hits Radio. We
Yep.
had the Urban Station. And
Yeah, they called it urban. I mean, it was
Urban.
such a catch-all term. Jams.
Yeah, jams. And of course, there was Magic and the Talk Station. I don't think there was a euphemism for the more kind of conservative leaning Talk Station. Those guys.
It was just
Those guys on the airline.
WRW.
Right.
They had the newsroom. They had the traffic and weather and all the stuff down in the corner. Yeah, that was kind of it. But we were all seated in. Now, Paul Vandenberg, he was the morning host on Magic, or my God, Magic, on 590. Yeah, ROW. And he ended up buying his own radio station. He's still doing that now. But he had his own office. Do you remember that? He was the only one with his own office.
Yeah, we were all just kind of out in Cube land. But I thought it was actually really fun, to show up there in the morning, and there were all these shows, and they were all like creating their bits and material, up until like the last minute on the air. Everybody doing their show prep. But what was that show prep? So the second day, I don't know if you remember this, the second day I was there, I looked at the printer next to our desk, and it was just like printing out pages and pages, and I looked to see what was coming out, and it was Darwin is all naked chicks. It was just like boobs and ass.
Oh, I remember that.
It was just boobs and ass coming out of the HP. And then the morning host walks up, gathers all his documents, and looks at me and just goes, show prep.
We won't say which morning host that was.
It was one
either.
of the hosts.
Yeah, it was one of the other stations. And we won't say which morning host that was either. And you came over to me mortified, and I shrugged, and I'm like, that's radio. And you I think that was the exact phrase you used too. Boobs and ass coming out of the HP.
Yep.
Then we went to print something for us, and it was out of ink. Wah, wah. And that's how it goes. Now, the guy it wasn't, Paulie Vandenberg, he used to always come out of his office and talk to us in, I guess you could call it the bullpen. He'd be like, there's a man alert, there's a woman alert.
I love that guy. And it's funny because all our formats were so different. And when we would meet people, then we like, and they found out like these are our coworkers. Oh, you guys don't get along with the talk guys, right? You guys don't get along with magic. Like, these are our best friends. It doesn't matter what format you're playing.
That was a cool thing about all the morning shows being in that cubicle farm bullpen setting, is that we all not only had to get along, we just naturally did. We were all suffering together. Some of us more than others, right? But it also would be funny because they would talk about things we did, and we could always listen to their show in our studio too. So it was set up, you could push a button and listen to. But we took advantage of that because I think we started to kind of, prank call. We're going to talk about that too. But there's a hierarchy there for sure.
Oh, you definitely knew who the big stars were.
We knew we got paid crap. They gave us the desks by the bathroom.
We heard everything.
And people told us everything. We have a whole episode about toilets and bathrooms coming
But
up.
I want to get back to the talk station because, they mostly, obviously they did news and they did a lot of politics, and their politics might not have been what our politics were. I remember being asked a lot, like, oh, how could you talk to those guys? They like this candidate. They like that candidate. That never comes up. Do you remember what we bonded with those guys over and why we became such good friends?
Oh, I don't remember specifically.
Everybody had a pet. Everybody loved animals. And it's just like the grizzled guy in the afternoon, like, yeah, I got a cat named Mr. Snickers. He's pretty cool. Like, cats broke the ice. And from then on, we're like eating with these guys and hanging out with these guys. And
I think you're right. And that's, I never really thought of that, but that was the even middle ground. Plus things were not so polarized.
Not at
either.
all. Not at all.
It was interesting that they might listen to our show. They might laugh at something, but generally speaking, we just talked about life in general. And it was so much fun. It really was fun. But also I think people felt sorry for us because we were in the studio that was the storage closet that had been smooth jazz, and then it was Christmas until March, and then they put on country briefly, and then we became The Edge, and we took over that brand, and we were going to replace Stern. I don't think people expected us to last.
No, I mean, we were figuratively in the basement and literally in a broom closet. Nobody expected much from our station. So, that gave us the power to or the freedom rather, to just kind of do whatever we wanted.
But they're also paying an odd amount of attention to us too, like booking us for a lot of things and just running us ragged.
Well, that's true. And when I say do whatever we wanted, it was kind of like, let's do it now and apologize later.
That was our attitude. And our first stunt we tried was something called Let's Cook Fish, which did not go well.
I'm a big fan of Let's Cook Fish. We tried to see if we could cook fish in a coffee pot, and that was our first.
And we set off the fire alarm.
Yeah, and that was like our first big bit, like the first week.
All right, so you know what, though? As for any game, we need a nice intro, so.
All right,
let's cook fish! 104.9 The New Edge, happy to present Let's Cook Fish.
Now, I got some trout fillets.
Okay, you have trout fillets.
2 slimy trout fillets.
Okay.
And
you're going to be popping these into the coffee maker.
yeah, and fish is very healthy for you, but we have a limited way of cooking around here at the station.
You're right, so it's kind of hard to do. So how are you going to...
You're breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right,
better.
so you got a way to cook this. Where are you going to start out on the coffee maker?
All right, first, I'm going to put it on the hot plate.
Okay, is it warmed up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, God, it's starting to cook.
Okay.
Okay. It's starting to sizzle.
Is this supposed to be doing that?
It stinks a little bit. I know you can't smell this. From where you are.
Is it smoking at
God,
all?
I wish you could see this. Yeah, smoke's coming up a little bit.
Okay, maybe you should.
I'm gonna put it in the decanter.
You're gonna put it in the decanter?
Yeah, you know what? Because I gotta scoop it off here, and there's little bits stuck. All right, it's oh my God, it's totally burning.
Okay.
Oh wait, you know what? It's breaking up.
Maybe you should push the brew button.
Okay.
You can push the brew button. Maybe that'll help it here.
It's coming down. Oh my God, it is actually starting to cook, Darwin. It's starting to cook.
Okay. How's it coming along?
It's okay.
It's doing all right in there?
Okay.
Okay, with the coffee in there?
Yeah.
And
It's actually Darwin.
yeah, what's going on in there now?
Hold on. Hey!
Cat, you all right?
I have sort of a situation.
Cat, Cat, that's the fire alarm.
Run!
What are you doing? Should I leave?
I don't think this is a good idea. Yeah, just go. Just go. Just go!
All right, you
Go!
sure? You sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Do you want some fish?
All righty. Hopefully we'll be back. Okay, this was a bad idea.
And I thought everybody would hate us after that, but everybody thought it was kind of funny, I think. Maybe that was my memory of it. I don't know. Nonetheless, it was fun being in that group, and I miss that sometimes. Despite the hours, it'd be great if we were all afternoon people doing a morning show in the afternoon.
See, you always said that, but I just think there's something really amazing about the morning.
Yeah, we were all crazy.
Well, there's something amazing about the morning, getting off the air at 10 and like desperately looking for a porterhouse. I mean, we were like starving. We were in horrible physical condition. It was completely taxing and awful.
But and everybody was in the same boat. I don't think people realize the toll it takes on you to get up to do morning radio. Morning television's even worse.
They
get in at maybe like 2. I think they go in at 2 a.m.
I don't know how they pull that off. I think we had, remember Christina Arangio?
Yeah, she's wonderful. Still on Channel 10.
She's great. And she was in one morning. She does the local news in Albany. And I said, how do you do it? And she's like, how do I do what? And I said, on the air every day, just looking so perfect. I said, thank God I'm on radio. I come in some mornings and I look like a smoke monster. And she's like,
she always looked good.
Oh, no, you're really cute. I'm like, come on, let's be real. I could not pull this off on TV.
I think that's a good thing with radio in a way is we were also paid less than the TV people, even though they got paid crap too. But they had makeup people, don't they?
They had kind of a glam squad.
But there's some people that are built for that, and you were built for mornings more than I was.
Yeah,
I'll say that. So. But there were other people there in the morning who were not quite built for mornings. But again, it's the top spot in radio. I remember one of our coworkers on another station ended up in the hospital and almost died.
Yes.
Because his health got so bad.
Yes.
And I think there were points where we started to realize this wasn't healthy for us at all. And we didn't really. Now, I was a smoker at the time, which was so stupid. I still can't believe.
Whoa, core memory unlocked. You did smoke.
And you would go outside with me just to get quote unquote fresh air. One of the things I think we learned early on because I was a smoker was we noticed there were some patches in the back door. Remember this? Yeah. The back door, and there was a keypad to get in, and we were like, well, what are the holes in the door for that were patched? And then someone told us that one of the DJs got shot once. Do you remember this whole thing? Like a rival DJ came in and shot the other one in the station, and you were so freaked out when you realized this was a thing that happened there.
And it's like, these are radio shows with the other oldies station kind of rolled up, dead of night.
Yep. And they were sitting out there and it was behind the building with no lights. And I was like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to smoke that midday guy's ass. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. So that was crazy. It was just one of those crazy things. But you wouldn't have known that if I wasn't trying to kill myself with cancer. I can't even stand the smell of it now. I smell a cigarette and I'm like, bleh. No. Sorry I tormented you with that. If you get secondhand smoke cancer,
well,
probably my fault.
This is a show of healing, so it's fine, Darwin. I'm sure I did a lot of things that were annoying too, and yet, here we are.
Yeah, but at least I wasn't trying to make, you weren't trying to make me sound like I'm talking through the hole in my throat.
Hey, would you pass me my Pall Malls, girly?
Pall Malls, yeah, here on the Darwin and Cat. Oh. But we survived. It didn't kill us, but it almost did.
New episodes, same fiasco. Darwin and Cat.
Our schedule was terrible.
Yeah, let's talk about the schedule. So we'd wake up at 2. We're on the road at 3, arrive at the station at 4, prep until 5, and then we're on the air until 10. But it didn't stop. A lot of shows what would they call them? 4 in the door, where
they would do their show and they would just leave.
No, we had a lot of other jobs at that station.
I was music director. I was doing production. They had you cutting commercials, doing voiceover. And weren't you?
Originally, I did Mitch's. Yeah.
So you'd have to go in and try to record that on the equipment.
I roped you into that too. Yeah, and it was kind of weird for the listeners because we'd be on from 6 to 10, and then they would just hear me going, "Oh, that's your Radiohead," from 10 to 2. Yeah, it was a lot of us.
It was, and it was just weird in a way because suddenly, well, how come you have to do the middays but not me? Well, I had to go schedule music, and for people that don't know, voice tracking is a common thing in radio. It's even more common now. It's where you just pre-record it, and you could be 5 states away and pre-recorded. We'd be going out to eat, and we'd be listening to you on the radio.
And people are like, well, "Wait, I don't know. You're on the radio right now." I'm magic. I'm an evil wizard. That's why.
But our days didn't just end, and we were still living in Vermont, and they would book us to do things in the evening.
late at night. My God. I mean, sometimes we had that first 3 weeks, it was almost like having a newborn. We had no sleep. It's like, okay, you're scheduled for something. It's going to start at 8. And that's really, really late for like morning people.
And an hour and a half, hour drive away. Yes, it was brutal. It was every night they had us somewhere. Go interview this band. Go do this. We started to get really punchy because of the lack of sleep.
We started to lose our minds, and then it all kind of spilled out live on television.
But before we even got to that, do you remember before the fallout, we get kicked off? Yeah, we got kicked off public TV. That's where we're going with this. But do you remember the prank calls we started amusing ourselves with on the way back to Vermont every day?
Yeah. I'm not proud of it, but yeah, I mean, we needed to pass the time. So
there was this old fried chicken restaurant in the middle of nowhere, and there was an apartment above it that was for rent. And we remember we would call the poor woman that was the realtor every day and ask her questions about the chicken shack.
Hi, I'm calling about the apartment that's for rent. Yeah, it's for rent right now. It's available. Yeah, I'm just wondering, does it smell like chicken? Every day, we'd be different people asking if it smelled like chicken, because it said the chicken shack, and there was this giant like chicken bucket.
Yeah, and a foghorn leghorn that was totally illegal.
Right.
And we would call every day and be like, but sometimes we would start conversing as if we were normal people. Well, does it have a dishwasher? No. Does it have this, that? What about the chicken stench? Do you ever get the chicken stench out?
Does it kind of waft upstairs, because the chicken smell rises?
We were good. It was funny. I thought we were funny. And then one day she called.
She did not.
Not at all. And one day we called and she swore at us and we said something like, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's Mrs. Johnson from blah, blah, blah. And you did great. You pulled her in again." And then all of a sudden dropped the chicken smell joke on her. And she's like, "Damn it, you."
She didn't appreciate we were doing a private show just for her.
She blocked our numbers eventually, so we couldn't call anymore. So once that happened, there was a Korean church for sale. You called that realtor.
I think this was more where you're doing the Korean church. I'm like shoving this off on you.
Well, you were the one who did the great. So you grew up around a lot of Korean friends.
I did. I grew up in a predominantly Asian neighborhood.
And you called and you're like, "You buy church and you pray."
I would like to buy a church because I want to pray in my own church.
And they were giving us the number, the prices. Well, the roof leaks, this or that. And
I think for a minute I was really thinking about it.
You were? Yeah, I think so. It was closer to work, that's for sure. You pray. You come pray. We buy church. And
I buy church, and you come and you pray and you sit next to me and we hold hands.
It started to get a little creepy.
And they were taking us very seriously.
Of course.
And it became not funny because they weren't mad at us.
I know, and they were so nice. I'm like, oh God, I think I'm actually on the hook now.
You got to buy the church. It's still for sale, 15 years later, just saying. It could be your time. So the next morning we go in and we decided to prank call B95 because why not? Nobody's calling us. This is in the era where we're still getting the I hate you calls. And you called them. And this might be your funniest thing I think you ever did that we didn't air.
Well, it's not too late.
Cue up
me getting canceled in 3, 2, 1. But I was fresh off my Korean prank call voice.
Yes.
And so.
And mind you, we would never do this today, but it was funny then. So he's like, Chuck answers. He's like, B95.
Hello.
Hello, B95. Would you like to hear a song?
Yes.
And then he asked where I was calling from.
Yeah, and you were like, well, you asked that after you give your song. It was, remember what song it was? Captain and Tennille, Love Will Keep Us Together.
I would like to hear love will keep us together. Thank you.
You're like the Captain and Tennille. And he's like, where are you calling from? And you're like,
Korea.
So he plays it on the air. And he's all excited.
He was so excited that somebody was listening on the live stream in Korea.
Except for he also said, he's like, you must be listening at B95.com. Well, no, she's got a big freaking antenna. What do you think, Chuck?
It goes very high. It stretches over North Korea. And they shut it down. But I still listen, Chuck.
The Captain and the Tennille.
Now, please play that.
We get off the air. We get back to our desks. And he's all excited. Oh, we got a call today from Korea. And he's playing it for us, and we're dying. We're dying. And then our boss sends the email, see me, the infamous see me.
That was never good.
He gets us in there, goes, did you two call B95 today?
Maybe. I mean, possibly.
We're like, I don't know. What did you hear?
And he looked at me and he said, Korea? Really?
And he told us, do not tell them. They're very excited about this call.
know.
Do not tell them.
I didn't want to take away their joy. I mean,
No.
they talked about that for about a week. And, hey, people coming to the office, we got a call from Korea.
And then he replayed it on the Saturday Night Oldies show because he was so excited about it. And we just cannot. Now we're bursting their bubble. But
Now the
so
truth
we
can
were,
be told. That was me.
yeah. We were getting punchy. Okay, I think we've set a good scene here. We were being inappropriate, ish.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, very. And tormenting people. And then this spilled over, and I think this might be a little bit of karma getting us.
Yeah. It all came crashing down.
It does. Friday afternoon, we're on the way out the door. I think we were leaving at 2. We thought, oh my God, there's nothing on the schedule. We can go home. And the boss says, oh wait, I forgot to tell you, the public TV station is doing their pledge drive, and you guys are booked to go give away some of the auction items.
Oh, God, no. I'm thinking we're going to be stuck there peddling tote bags and world music and necklaces and beads and whatever they give away on public
So we
television.
show up because, well, they signed us up for it, and we get there and they give us a script. They're like, yeah, you got to read off the teleprompter. We'll put up pictures of the stuff. It's easy. And we're like, okay, they did your makeup and hair. They did mine. We looked good, right?
Yeah.
So we go out there, we rehearse it. Everything goes fine. And we're like, okay, bye. Except for,
Nope.
how late did they sign us up for it? Do you remember?
I think it was 1 a.m.
But nonetheless, we were just wanting to go home. It was a nice day. We were so exhausted.
So I remember waiting to be called onto set, and we just took over these. There was no place to really spread out, but there were like these chairs with these really hard armrests, and we were just like a dolly painting, just kind of melted all over these chairs, and we were zombies.
And we kept saying to them, we're really sorry. We're really tired. We'll do these. Can you find a replacement? Can you find somebody else to come
I
in?
took one of the production people aside and I said, we're so exhausted that if we go on air, it's not going to go well.
And they didn't listen.
They did not.
No, it was going fine because we practiced. We're professionals.
Yeah,
we
we
read
knew
the
what-
script.
Mhm.
And then it went wrong. We get out there and the teleprompter doesn't match what they're showing as items. And the director's like, cut. And they cut to some other promo and said, we gave you the wrong script. You're going to have to wing it.
And then we found out what we would be peddling.
And the very first thing that came up was, well, let me get this right. Have you ever looked down and said, I need to seal my cracks? It was a driveway sealing company, and we lost it. And we lost it. Immediately start
I
laughing
want to
about
help you
sealing our cracks.
seal your cracks, all you NPR people out there.
So I'm laughing even harder. And then you come back over and, and you got to read something. And we keep going back and forth. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And then comes the worst part of it of all. It's your turn. And what do they have you talking about?
A doll that looks like a corpse named Miss Pretty Polly.
And it's like Miss Pollyanne's ready to mount her maypole for May, or ready for spring to mount her maypole, or something like that.
And suddenly I didn't have a script, but I had to describe her. And the
Yes.
close-up is on this doll with these midnight black eyes. And I said,
Look at Miss Pretty Polly with her beady little eyes.
You were laughing so hard and you were trying to breathe. They ran out of footage. They ran out of script on the teleprompter. And you tipped your head to the side with this desperate look on your face. And you looked into the camera and you went, isn't she precious with her beady little eyes? It was way worse than you remember.
my mind is trying to shield me from the trauma. But yes, Darwin, that is accurate. That's exactly how it happened. And I would do anything to find this footage.
I know they wouldn't give it. I called the next day and they wouldn't give it
I
to us.
think they
wonder why.
burned it. I think they burned it.
Isn't she precious?
With,
With
her
her
beady little eyes.
You're trying to keep it together. So they come over afterward and they said, yeah, you're good. You're leaving.
They escorted
And they-
us from the building.
They had security escort us out.
Yes.
Yep. And we found out later on they thought we were drunk and high.
No, nope.
No, we were not at all. We were tired. We were sleep deprived. And then they put that damn doll up and that killed us. They don't do those live anymore. And I think it's our fault. I do. We ruined it. But
I warned them.
That's how tired we were.
I
Yeah.
warned them. I told them it would not go well. Actually, I think it did go kind of well.
I mean, although I don't think they sold Miss Pollyanne or whatever the hell it was.
Did they seal any cracks?
No, I don't know. We never found
Not
out.
one.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Miss Pollyanne appeared the next year on the pledge drive. Remember I took a picture and sent it to you
Yeah.
years ago. there she was.
Nobody wanted
And
her. The poor thing. The
no.
poor little thing.
So I had family in town for, I don't know what reason, all this extended family. I go to hang out with them, and I'm so tired I can barely think. And they thought we thought it was scripted. They were like, oh, your comedy show on public television was so funny.
Yes, our light little skit for the public.
And we were so mortified because we were trying so hard to keep it together and be respectful. And the end result was, it didn't matter.
Next time, call Magic. They'll be nice. They'll keep it together.
They won't laugh at stealing your cracks. They'll take it very seriously.
They will not think that's extremely funny.
And they will think that little Miss Pollyann or Miss Polly Spring Maple Mounter
is truly precious, like she is, like that glorious little pixie is.
So that's how we got kicked off of public television.
And we haven't been back.
I think they still have nightmares about it, actually. And eventually we moved, right? Finally, you found somewhere to live, and I did.
I moved. We all moved to Albany so I could be near the station, and you guys too.
And for me being so sleep deprived, and that was probably the biggest struggle period for me in terms of sleep deprivation, was that first handful of weeks, because you know how I am. We've talked about this. Mornings are not a friend. Although living closer was better, but they didn't stop booking us at stuff either for quite a while.
No, because another dirty little secret, well, we've been talking about this, how little money we made. The money was in remotes, live appearances. You could make a lot an hour doing these appearances. But the thing is, they were at night. They were like 9 at night. And we had to be on the air.
And a lot of them were free. A lot of times it was introducing a band to promote the show. Oh, it helps your show.
Sometimes live remotes were paid, and sometimes they were just mandatory and they were free. But when they were paid, everybody in the station was fighting to get them too.
They were. And we would only do them together. I remember we made a rule about that because they were sending you to some car dealership to give away free movie tickets and sending me to,
I think we thought if they're going to exploit one of us, they're going to exploit both of us. So we're going to be a united front. I don't know if it made a lot of sense.
And also to charge more.
Well, yes.
We charged a premium, even though we weren't really getting it. I mean, premium was like, what, $45? I mean, I think that was our 35 or 45. It was pathetic. But we were desperate for it because we were paid so poorly.
Right.
And I think you qualified for food stamps at one point.
I did. And we had a boss, I won't say who it was, and I had the big conversation about my compensation package. I say that in quotes. And he's like, no, I'm so jealous of you. I'm so jealous of your salary. And I said, why? And he said, because you qualify for like all these social services. God, I wish I could get free healthcare.
It was crazy. I think
that's what management told me.
I think I made 10,000 more a year than you, right? At that point, or 7,000. It was something. It was outrageous. 10. But then I'd complain about it and feel even worse because you were making even more crap.
But I made a choice. I thought, you know what? We have this opportunity to do this morning show, and I'm going to be able to leverage this later.
Oh, here we are trying again. Maybe this is the later. I'll tell you one thing. It wasn't that freebie we did on public TV because we ain't ever allowed back there again.
I think we burned that bridge, and I don't think I'm going to be able to buy a Korean church.
There go all of our dreams.
Next time on Darwin and Cat. There's no good answer. No, that is a girl trap. You were smart enough to say
I did, because when those strawberries showed up and you immediately were like, great, he wants it bigger. I knew. I kept my mouth shut because that would have been the end of our show right then and there.